Okay, a different style of calibration today to what I've typically put out in the past, and it honestly provides much better results than really, I guess, a generic target curve raise in the subwoofer channel. Like 6 dB from say 100 Hertz to say 30 Hertz is, I guess, pretty typical. I think even mine was say an 8 dB rise. The biggest issue that has is just generically doing that, or even trying to work out the response of say your subwoofer's target in that particular region. Is, does that target match the target of your speakers? Probably not, right? There isn't typically an 8 dB rise from 100 Hertz to say 30 Hertz in your speakers. And I was really introduced to this idea of coupling, I guess you could say, the response of the speaker's target curve to the subwoofer's target. Now, that was on Joe and Tel's Discord, and I was talking to a guy named Reverend Slim, and he was really gracious enough to really go through this, because I was like asking a lot of back and forth about the whole thing. But once I got it, I really got it. I was like, yeah, this is the way to do it. This is definitely the way to do it. One of the reasons is again, crossover bass is missing if your targets are not aligned together from the sub to the speakers. So here's something to think about. If you measure your speakers at 75 dB and you measure the 0.1 channel at 85 dB, where's the subwoofer crossover bass going to be without the 0.1 channel? It's going to be at 75 dB. That means you have flat bass. That means you have no bass. So that was really introduced to me as well, about this idea of you can't actually measure the subwoofer channel at 85 dB. You can't do that because look at this real quick. So where are we? So this is just a Harmon curve, right? 75 dB. Let's put this back. Right, so this has been aligned, I hope. No. That's fine, because it's so smooth. So at 75 dB, at 1 kilohertz, well, let's actually do it what it's supposed to be. Pink noise is over 2 octaves. Over 1 octave. So this would be between 500 hertz and 2000 kilohertz. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. So if, as you can see, if you put your cursor over the Harmon target curve, the bass rise is actually 82.3. So if the bass is at 82.3 at speaker level and the 0.1 channel is at 85 dB, that's 2.7. That's 2.7 dB louder than your crossover bass. Of your speaker level bass. But where's the bass going to be for bass that's actually crossed over into the sub? It's going to be all the way down here. So you actually can't do that. The speaker level bass is at 82.3, which means the crossed over bass needs to be at that level as well, which would put the bass, let's pull another one in for the Harmon. Do this, okay. Speaker level. Sub level. Let's do this. So No. Plus 10. Okay, that got added straight away. Good. Oh, add data. Sorry. Add data, then we can see it. Yeah. So, if your speaker level has the same, if your subs have the same calibration target as your speaker level, when you measure your system, the sub channel is actually at 92.3 dB with a Harmon target curve. That's loud, right? That's what the sub channel is supposed to be. It's supposed to be 10 dB louder, right? It's not 10 dB louder than 75 dB at 1 kilohertz. It's 75 dB louder in bass at the bass level. So, you know, test tones that, you know, there's a test tone. The test tones for all the speakers are fine, right? 75 dB. You just can't do subs that way, because you can put your target in, measure all your targets and things like that, and especially if you're using a different target for your sub. So that's another thing. Like, so imagine you calibrated your sub to the Harmon target curve, but you still then measured your subs at 85 dB, right? That would what is that? Negative 7.5, but we'll see. It'll be around there. So 84.8. Add, yeah. So the sub level now is at 85 dB, and the speaker level is at 82.3 dB. Oh, sorry, yeah, it should be 80. Oh, no, that's fine, because you'd measure at 85 dB. But do you see how this is wrong? The reason, again, it's wrong is because this is at 0.1 level. This is at 10 dB louder, and we're not 10 dB louder anymore. We're, yeah, 2.7 dB louder. That means, again, on bass that is crossed over is not high enough at all. You're going to get bass crossed over at 80 hertz, and the sub level is just going to do this, because the bass levels are not correct. It's just going to fall off. Once I've seen this, because I've never really measured my crossed over response. I was only interested in calibrating the 0.1 channel, getting the 0.1 channel to sound good. Did it sound bad? No. I mean, I got even my old subs, with my old method, I got my subs to sing. Like, it sounded really, really, really good. However, once I picked up on this way of calibrating, you gain so much more warmth in music that I was like, whoa, I've been missing this. You miss so much. There's so much bass you actually miss that is actually crossed over. Sure, 0.1 is going to sound, like I said, really strong. But it's not just 0.1. It's also music. It's also two-channel music. You know, that is completely wrong. It's completely off for doing this. I think, I forget his name. Anyway, I saw a video and from a speaker and, well, not a speaker manufacturer, a processor manufacturer, PS Audio, and they said basically that surround sound receivers are a compromise with subwoofers, with two-channel music, because the levels are not right. That's pretty much what I took from it. That's not the case. It's just improper setup. It really is. It's not setting the levels up correctly for two-channel, and not setting the levels up properly for home cinema, home theater. So, and yeah, once I got this, I didn't move back to my old method at all. Now, I've been on my ups and downs on this method about the exact levels of the volume and things like that. When should the volume be taken and measured when everything is rolled off at 80 Hertz and there's a high pass filter in, or before, when everything is open and there's no filters going on. You know, so there's been that too. But that's a brief introduction really to this method, and that is making sure crossed over bass continues this curve. You know, you don't just cross over at 80 Hertz and then you just lose bass, but you have great 0.1 channel. I'm not saying it sounds bad, but it does not sound as good as it can. It doesn't sound as good as it can. And using this method, when you truly have 10 dB extra bass, you put Dune 2 on and you realize that, whoa, yeah, the bass here is at reference levels, and it is ultra deep. It sounds excellent. It really does. And just some movies can sound tremendously good like this. So yeah, that's the method, and that is really the reasons why to do this. So let's get rid of all of this now. And I'm using a MINI-DSP SHD for this. And MINI-DSPs just give more resolution in the bass area than multi-EQX Odyssey can. More resolution than Dirac can, and everything. And to me, a MINI-DSP, whether you get the SHD or you get a 2x4 HD, it's just, I don't think there's anything out there that can actually compete with a MINI-DSP for bass. And because it's such a small range that you're actually EQing in that area, getting as much granularity, detail, and control possible is what you want to make your sub sound better. You just don't have that with other room correction software. It's just not available. So that is really the reason for using it. And let's mute one of the channels and we'll start sweeping. I use full long sweeps, and actually let's talk about this first. Well, the long sweeps thing, the reason I do that is because that's how I would calibrate, right? I'm not going to use 256K sweeps because I wouldn't do that on my own system. So in a video, I'm just going to do it how I do it. I use OCA sweeps, and they're 1M, 21-second sweeps, and they give better sound quality, in my opinion. So another thing is I no longer sweep or use any sweeps from discs like Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit for the LFE channel, specifically LFE channel. Excuse me. Everything else is fine. For OCA sweeps with the LFE, you can't use it. You can't use any sweep that has been through a Dolby Atmos decoder already. You can't do it because Dolby are applying roll-offs already to it, and you're not getting the right response from the subwoofer channel at all. So you can't do that. I've even talked to OCA about that, and he says, you know, when you calibrate, just don't use the LFE sweeps. But you know, Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit doesn't escape this either. On their full range pink noise through the LFE channel, you can measure it yourself. It's rolled off. So, and it's because of the Dolby software that's actually just rolling the signal off, as well as your receiver is rolling the signal off at 120 Hertz. So to get a channel correct, there's only two ways you can actually measure through a sub. One is with REW, and you do it here. You measure in the LFE, and the reason REW can do it is because they're measuring in PCM, which means they're not going through a Dolby filter, they're not doing anything like that. The 0.1 channel is just allowed you can send 0 to 100 to 24 kilohertz through a sub channel, unfiltered. No other, if it's been released on disk, if it's been released on a file, and it says Dolby Atmos on there, and you're sweeping an LFE channel, you can't do that. Because you're not getting the full actual response of that channel, and you're going to EQ what is missing out to your target curve. And it's not going to sound good. And I tell you what, I cannot stand bass that is lifted around that crossover area. I have one disc that tells me whether the calibration is good or bad, and that's tenor. The fight scene at the end, when there's that big war going on, there's a lot of bass that if you have your bass too high at crossover level and at low pass filter level in the LFE channel, it doesn't sound good because it's raised, the bass is raised. So what I'm doing is I unplug my front speaker, the right speaker. I just use the right speaker. That's just a speaker for me that was, you know, you can do the left, it doesn't matter. And you sweep through the speaker. Again, the reason for doing that is because the front speaker, or any of the speakers, any of these sweeps are uncapped. They're completely uncapped. There's no crossovers, rollovers, there's no low pass filters, there's nothing going on them. They're completely full range. And it's the same for Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit with their sweeps for their other channels. Well, not the sweeps. You can sweep through on this disc, but they have full range pink noise as well. And that's full range. That's that's uncapped. And you can just use that information to calibrate with. Now, I think everybody at the start, when they was using RAW, that's what they did, because we didn't have 0.1 signal. You couldn't put 0.1 signals through. Like back in the day, it was very difficult to like actually manage RAW, and you'd have to send like a stereo signal through and all this type of stuff. But now we can do better. So I just used the front channel here to sweep with. So let's just get that done there. And they're 21 seconds long, and it's better bass. It's and it's better. It's better than using what I was doing as well before, was setting this to say 250 and cutting off there. But this sweep at full range sounds better. I could just tell. I could tell right away. I'm like, the calibration sounds better. So, you know, these are OCA sweeps. I have a link for them in the description, and they're excellent. I use VLC Player. VLC Player for me is the best way, and it's just the easiest way, I feel, and best way to get these sweeps to play properly through Windows. So my Windows 11 PC here is set up for 7.1, or it could even be set up for two channel right now. No, it is 7.1. It's set up for 7.1. You don't need to set it to Atmos to play like these files. It will automatically play these files in Atmos. So yeah, that's that. Let's start calibrating. All right, so one channel is muted, and wait from file. That's it. Let's go. Okay, let's fix this. 200. Let's What's this? Okay. Let's name this left. And mute the other. And we sweep this one. Okay. Right. Now, just one thing as well on this screen. So I've swept both, and you'll see here that there is base difference here in volume between the right and the left sub. These speakers, these subs, are gain matched. So what that means is that I've went to the subs and measured what's coming out of the sub. The positions that I've measured them with the microphone are exactly the same on both subs. And I would probably consider this even if I use the Monolith THX subs, and they have an analog volume control, which is very annoying, but it's a compromise because they work very well priced compared to equivalent subs, really, that will use the phone app to control volume. It's really, really convenient. I do wish it had it. But what I was going to say is, even with phone apps, whether they have a volume control from, say, 0 to 15 or 0 to 100, it might still be worth checking that even when both subs are, say, set to a particular level, that they are playing the same. They're actually properly gain matched themselves. There could be a little difference there. And I didn't do that on my last subs, and I kind of wish I did, because I felt that there was always one sub that I could actually kind of hear, and it was like just playing too much volume, whereas the other one didn't have that. And I always wondered, or it could be that, on different sides of the room. But when you see this, don't think to yourself, oh, the right sub here needs to be increased in volume. It doesn't. They're gain matched. They're playing exactly the same volume. This is what the room is doing to the response, right? The room is now doing this to the response. And the reason you don't want one sub to play louder than the other, I can tell when there's one side louder than the other. I can just tell, and I've done it before, and it's not good. So just having the subs play at the same volume, and that is your response, and then it'll be your combined response, is the best thing to do. They have to be the same volume. I've done it in the seat before, and it's not right. It's not right because the response averages will be different because of what the room is doing to it all. All right. One way maybe you might be able to tell gain matching, actually, is this part. Like, it's gain matched absolutely perfectly. Like, from 18 hertz and below. It's absolutely perfect. Then the room kicks in. That's what it looks like. Anyway. Alignment. So the top is the left and the bottom will be the right. Okay. That's our combined response there in black. There. It's actually putting the 6 dB in as well now in RAW. I don't think it used to do that. But now below here you can see phase traces. Now this is important because as you can see here, at 14 hertz. 14 hertz were perfectly aligned. And when I say aligned, I mean the phase traces are on top of each other. They're completely on top of it. At 25 hertz, we're completely aligned. Now, as you can see here at like 107, it's starting to fall away, but look at this. The phase comes back at 160, around 160. And that is the thing with phase, and which is timing, which is the timing of sound. So the timing of bass is very good up to 40 hertz. Let's have a look. And it's when you get to this thing that's going on here, is you get all of this. So the timing is going to be different because the room is doing something to this sound, right? These subs measure the same, but in the room, now look what's happening. When changes in attenuation happen to a speaker of any kind, the timing of that sound is different. When they both play the same, look at this, around there, the response is about on top of each other. Chances are, look at this, their phase is perfect as well. So the timing is being affected by the room, which really means that I would not go crazy on phase and timing. If you're in a symmetrical room, if your subs are in exactly the same position. And what I mean by that is I've measured 3 inches off the side wall, 3 inches off the back wall. And then this one is in exactly the same position, 3 inches off the wall and then 3 inches off the back as well. I have forward facing subs, so they can afford to be 3 inches off the back there like that, because the woofers are sticking out like 24 inches away from the wall. So, but yeah, this timing here is all the room doing this. It's not the speaker. The speaker, as you can see, when they match in response, and even down here, like I was saying about the volume matching here, the response is the same. So the timing will be the same, which means you really don't need to change it. But on a micro level, I still want to. And the reason I do is, so just real quick, I set this to 80 hertz. I set that to 80 hertz. And we're going to align phase at cursor. And I think the reason why that is the best thing to do is because I want the most consistency of timing of both the responses of these subs around the crossover, around 120 hertz to 80 hertz, around 60 hertz, around that area. It's not going to affect the response of this area really too much at all, because the timing is so close anyway. So if you press this, you can look here between the red and the yellow, the differences in this, what this time will make. So align phase at cursor, it brought the green, which is the right, so it needs to, it needs to delay by 0.22, right? What that does is it gives between over a certain area an averaged phase alignment right there. That will give you the best sound, and it will give you the best crossed over bass as well, because it is phase is the most consistent in that particular sweet spot now. And it only required a delay of 0.22. And the reason is again, because the subs are symmetrically matched. Then it should not be that far out. Now, if you align phase at slopes at cursor, which I would not do, you'll get delays of like 13 milliseconds. I've heard it, I'm not doing it, because I can hear the delay in the sub. It's not good. It's like when a drummer is playing two snares or two drums, is dudum dudum. I can hear the delay. So I'm not doing that. I don't think it's the best thing to do, to have delays that much. Now, if you have a sub in the back and then a sub in the front, your delays, that would be, I'd like to try that, to see how the timing phase and whether you have to invert things, and you know, to get a good response. But still, the timing of things, you know, from a phase point of view, should still align. It should not be different once you've got it like kind of set up like this. But maybe the delays in that, though, if you did have a rear sub, would be potentially significantly different. It's honestly hard to say because I've never done it, so I wouldn't really comment too much on about it. But when you're talking about delays of like 13 milliseconds, maybe for completely different. But again, it is a symmetrical room still. I just don't see it being that far off past inverting the phase, right? Past that. So we put a delay on here of 0.22 to the right sub. That's it. That's I'm going to disconnect here because I don't want it to DC itself. So align some. We don't need to see these. Did I unmute? Yeah, I did. And now we sweep. And we should get that response. Maybe didn't talk about this, but I am sweeping at 85 dB. Not for any particular reason, just that sweeping when both subs are being measured on the generator here, they should measure 85 dB. The reason for me sweeping at 85 dB is not to do with anything like, hey, the speaker level is 75 and this is 85. It's nothing to do with that. It's just 85 dB is really where you can sweep subs. There's no, you shouldn't have any vibrations in the room. The sub is playing very naturally. You don't want to EQ a speaker under stress because it will change the response. So 85 dB is a nice volume to calibrate subs to, and that's why, yeah, I didn't talk about that, but time aligned. All right, that can go. So this is our response. Now what I do is I want to get an idea. Yeah, I'm getting my numbers wrong. So 81.6, just in case I forget. 81.6, you can really pick anywhere here, but I'm picking this particular spot. Just to see, I want to get an average, I want to know what the average level is of this, and I'll show you why. So SPL. So what I do to get the average level in the sub-region is set this to 40 and set this to 1. 1 octave in REW is half an octave. So it would be between 60 and 30. Just to get an idea of general volume of this subwoofer in that particular area. If you go 2 octaves, which would be an octave, it's too I found it just too large of an area. I just found this specific way was the best way to get an average of how I wanted to calibrate the subs. So 81.6, let's just put 81 in for now. 81 and see where we're at. 81.6. Oh no, I clicked off. Crap. Let's undo that. Alright, so 81.6. Where do we go? So 87. Oh, whoa. So 6 off. 74. Let's see. Okay. $81.6. Okay. One more. Okay. All right. So if you undo the alignment, this here says 81.6 at this point. When I align the volume at 75.1, not for any specific reason, just that's what it's measuring, you press this and the number doesn't change. That means the volume that you're aligning to and the response are equal. So there's a reason why I do that, is because I EQ to that average volume only. I don't go, hey, shall I EQ here, shall I EQ there? That's the actual volume I EQ at now. So I'll show you. So you pull in a Harmon curve. Where am I going? Right, so the Harmon curve is below, right? But now you align the Harmon curve to this curve and you'll see where it's at. So let's do that. Same thing. And that is the average volume of the sub. That's how you do it. Or at least what I have personally found the most success with is doing that. One thing I'll say as well is most subwoofers have something going on here. With these subs, it's the DSP that's doing this, and this is not worth correcting because at this point the sub's pretty much gone, right? There could be some room influence here, but the sub for me is pretty much gone. Now, if you have something very similar where you have a peak here, and it's starting to come down, and it hangs on maybe for a little bit, but then it drifts off. Something similar to that. I wouldn't want to EQ like this target here. This is my target curve, Harmon target. I've done it in the past, and it's just too beefy. The sound is just too thick. If you bring your level of the target down to here and you start EQing all of this as well and getting this flat, nah. So, I've experimented a lot with this, and I think it just so happens that the average target level is where the subwoofer rolls off, right, as well. You could see that on your responses, as where that sub truly does roll off, then don't really EQ past this. Don't go under it. Don't EQ under that. Now this is coming under, right? Now this is under this, but this is the room doing it. This is truly the room doing this. I will attempt to fix this. You don't have to. But I'm one of those people that are just like, I don't think I want this, and if I don't hear the boost, then I don't care about it. This is why I bought subs that are so powerful, because I don't have to worry about distortion. Not really. I mean, you always kinda, you never have enough power, I guess you could say, but these subs are just way too much for this room. Like, it's, more than you need. So this is why I will use a boost here. and try and fix some of that, make it look a bit more even. So how do you translate this to the EQ section in here? Very easily. So at 20 Hertz, the response of the Harmon target curve is 75.3. And I'll write it down just in case I forget. So 75.3. So you come in, so this is selected, time aligned. Time aligned, yep, good. The Harmon target curve's already in there. Alright, let's pull this, oh, wait. I'll bring this down a bit. So at 20 Hertz, alright, that should be 75.3. It is currently, you should be able to see this, 86.9. It's like 9 dB. What's that, 71? No, my math isn't good, so 75.3. I mean, just bring it down till it says that, you know. So 75.3. What has this done? This has, we have averaged our target to our response, and they match. The average volume of the response matches the average volume of the target itself. Maybe it doesn't take into account this roll off or anything like that, but the average volume of this part before this rolls off, really, is where we want it to be, because it was that half octave is 60 to 30. So it's getting this average volume here. It's having to take into account some of this boosting, some of this dipping, and a little bit of this. And this will match that. It will match that averaging there. That, in my opinion, is the best way to pick a target level. They match, and it's the average response of the sub itself. You know, you're not just randomly picking, hey, that looks about even. You know, you're not doing that. So anytime I EQ, I want a methodology behind it. I want a reason for doing it, and to be consistent. So if I know that this works on my system, I know that this will work on my downstairs system, which I did exactly the same method. And it worked. It's exactly the same. I have the same results, disregarding the power of the subs, right? But I have the same EQ method, so it's consistent. It's always the same. I'm not, hey, I'll come back in 10 minutes and see it until I find the best one. This is the best one because it's the average level. Plus, when you EQ this on the average level and the level matches the actual target's roll off, which we will not EQ this part here, the high pass filter, I have not turned on. And it's because the roll off's the same. I'm not changing this. It doesn't change. Whereas before, this target level, I was bringing all the way, say, you could bring it all the way down here, right, to match this lowest point here, not disregarding this point, this lowest point here, and just EQ that. It's pretty risky to do that because of this part of the sub. You really then do have to use high pass filters to definitely protect your subs, which you should probably make a habit of doing anyway. My ELAC subs downstairs do not have protection at all. You have to use a low pass filter on them. High pass. I always get them mixed up. Because when you calibrate this now to a particular level, this will be too high. Because you are bringing everything down to its level as well. You got to think about that. So that's it anyway. Then what we do is, the individual max boosting, all this, everything is capped out. Flatness curve is at 1. Allow narrow filters below 200. This may have been what I was using in the part before. We'll go with it. But generally speaking, I want to make sure, even though some people may EQ to, let's just say people at EQ to this point. Do you see this rising? It's nowhere near the target, which means that yes, the bass is rolling off at say 80 Hertz, and there's a roll off in the LFE channel at 120 Hertz. I know I'm going to hear this. I hear it. You can still hear it because why? That's at 80 dB. The target is at 71. That means no roll off in the 120 Hertz is going to be able to take care of that. You can't do it. So you do have to EQ past 120 Hertz if you want a smooth response without any of those ultra highs around here. And again, I use Tenet to test this. I know when my subs are right. You put Tenet on, if I hear bass that I should not be hearing in these areas, in the crossover area, I can hear it. It doesn't sound good. So okay, let's just match response to target, and we'll see what we get. Okay, let's take that off. So there's a point in the sub where when you, and I'm talking about the match range for how much you should EQ to, where the EQ will bring the level of the sub down of all of this, and bring this down as well, like the this extra stuff going on here. It will also bring that down. You can see it as well in the measurement. That's really where you want to be. You don't, even though this is 200 Hertz, maybe at 200 Hertz, sure, we could maybe start letting some of this go. But because there are roll-offs, you know, the 80 Hertz crossovers causing this to now roll off, and you're not going to be able to hear that. But anything up to around 150, 160 may still be heard. And I want this, I need this to follow the target. As well, this will allow for smoother transitions into your crossover. Whether it's 80, whether it's 60, 90, 100. It allows smoother transitions because the target is clean response all the way. Now for me, that looks really good. So as you can see, the response of down here, you know, below 20, is basically the same. Now it does look as though it's actually trying to correct there. 21 Hertz. I'm not sure if I actually like that. Like, you don't have to do that, like, to bring this up. So what you could do if you knew that is that like some weird DSP thing going on there, is cover that. Like, now set the range from 22 Hertz so it doesn't have to mess around with this. Let's see if that works. Slightly less. Let's go 21. You could just say as well it was actually fine before, because I'm pretty sure that's what I did do. But these are things to think about, right? If you really don't want to stress things here, you don't have to. Let's do this again now. So there should be one at 21 Hertz. Yeah. Okay. But it is something to think about. Right, where do you want to EQ to? Where's the limit of the sub? We got kind of lucky because the response actually rolls off before our last one. The new EQ actually rolls off before, which is good. So now there's some waves, a little bit of waviness here. You can't hear that. You know, however OCD I am, you can't hear that. This is a very clean EQ response. Now, can we actually get that? Let's see. When we put it in. That's the calibration. Where's YouTube? Okay. I'll just do this. Sub-cal mini. Okay. Did I disconnect again? I think it times out. Okay, for the PEQ menu, load by quad file, YouTube, that one. Okay, that's the file. And let's see. Shall I do a volume check? Yeah, let's get an 85. So now the response level is the same. Let's see how good this looks. Okay, it's actually slightly high. Oh, it's slightly high. Okay, so that's it. Let's have a look. Time aligned. That's the response. So calibrated. Let's actually lower this. Just want to see it on the target. About there. Add the data. That's fine. Yeah. Good. We're at we show 5 dB increments here. So this is like, let's actually have a look. What's the difference? 76.3. It's a 1 dB, right? There's some 1 dB differences here. These, for me, in these base areas, these are things you don't hear. So as far as I'm concerned, it's tracking to our target perfectly. Perfectly. And that for me is using a Harmon target curve. We've swept through the main right speaker, and it's full range. There's no LFE crossovers, no low pass filters going on, none of that going on. So so real quick, yeah, so the roll-offs here are the same, basically the same, which hopefully should mean I would not need to use the high pass filter. Now, for peace of mind, it still may be worth using, but currently I'm not using one because this sub has built-in protection, and because it's matching the original roll-off, I'm not going to feel bad right now about at least testing this. I mean, I'm testing movies at reference levels, at really high levels, and I have never heard any issues yet with this. So I guess I probably should test some Christopher Nolan movies because they're pretty scary with their bass. So yeah. Okay. Now volume. I've been talking about volume. Do I set this to 85 dB and forget about it? Well, no, again, you can't do that. So, no. Let's save that. Nope. YouTube. Sub-calibration for now. I may just keep all this, but just in case I did not want to. So, let's do this, or do do that. All right, now we actually want to match the levels of the center channel, or any channel, but I use the center channel, compared to our speaker, right? So, let's see. What do I need to do? Yeah, that's fine. Full range. Full range. Okay. So you put the center channel in full range. And just to get an idea of where we're at, center channel. No. Speaker. Set this to 85. Sorry, 75. Good. Center channel is roughly 75 dB. So now what we do is we sweep it with no subs on, because we're in full range. And with this, we set now the smoothing to psychoacoustic. Everything now volume matching wise I use in psychoacoustic. It is far easier to see where everything is to get average levels. As you can see, the calibration was smooth even without smoothing. So the smoothing data is not going to really change too much, to be honest, in the sub-region, but it just makes seeing a speaker response so much easier. So let's sweep. Okay. Let's have a look at this. Okay. Now, I haven't calibrated today, and the mics may be in slightly a different position, so, you know. Now, one thing I'll just say about this response is I don't correct for bass around this area, because it sounds too boxy when you do it. So pretty much to this point here, around 300 hertz, this portion up to around here, I don't EQ for that. I may even zero this whole thing out. So this bass right here is just the room doing this. And then the rest of the response is pretty much following our Harmon target with some dips here and there. But yeah, so what I want to do here is get an average of the response again for this speaker. So it says 76.2 there. 76.2. .76. Now we do 1 kilohertz over an octave. So 76.2. 4. All right. So now we have the average volume of our speaker. Now what we do, there's a reason why we did that, is because now we can pull our Harmon curve up and have the Harmon curve match our target. As you can really see here, the crossover of our system, the center channel, should be 80 hertz, because that's where we've lost the response of our Harmon target curve. You lose it. So you can see here where your crossovers need to be when the speaker fails, or when the speaker's output is just done. So every speaker I've bought, from the debut speakers to all the speakers I've owned, they just sound better at 80 hertz. Even if I had more response here, my subs handle bass better than these speakers can. So it's just better at 80 hertz. So as you can see, like, when you saw it on its own without a Harmon target curve here, you're like, well, that's pretty wavy, right? Again, this is a different day, so the mic may be in a slightly different position, things like that. There are micro things that, can change, but it's tracking to a Harmon target curve, right? I don't EQ at all for this. Again, I think it sounds worse. It may sound worse because it's in a cabinet, you could say. Potentially causes more resonance and things like that. It's not really resonance. It's this area for some reason is really bad for female vocals. It just puts heat on it. Doesn't sound good. So I've stopped EQing for that part. And it still eventually gets back up to a Harmon target in bass. I haven't plugged the ports on the back of this center. Didn't need to. It doesn't resonate like my last speaker. So anyway, we have volume aligned our target to our response, and our response is aligned with the way we are measuring as well. So our response didn't change in volume. So this is it. This is our bass rise. We need a subwoofer now to take care of this. So let's go back to crossovers, and we don't need full range anymore. That can be 80 for now. This needs to go back to 250. And the best way to volume match is open like this, with a channel completely open. No crossovers on it, no filters, no high-pass filters, no nothing. That is how you get the best volume match for the sub itself. Now, when you set your speakers to 80 Hertz, because of that roll-off is in place, it will lower the volume very slightly of the sub. But it's something I didn't worry about because the 0.1 bass is so good like this because it's perfect. So let's measure the right channel again now. And see where we are. Now we should be high. I believe if I'm going based off my last EQ, we should be about 6 or 7 dB high. Okay. Yeah. So let's actually see. I guess where we're the most even, probably here. 30 Hertz. So, where's the target? The Harmon target curve, the Harmon curve target should be 82.9, and we're at 90. 90.6. 7.6, I think. Let's my math is bad, so let's get the calculator out and we'll see, just to be sure. So take away 82.9, 7.7. I'm going to do it, yeah, I'm going to do it this way. I could do it on the receiver side, but because it's such a specific number, 7.7, I'm going to put it into the app, Multi-EQX app, negative 7.7. This is great for any clipping reasons with a 0.1 channel. I use XLRs, and the Denon A1H I don't think has clipping in the same way the other receivers do, but just in case, I would like to lower that anyway. I think somebody said the other day, the true gain that you get from an XLR cable is about 3 dB. So I think if clipping was an issue on this receiver, I think if you lowered the subwoofer output by -3, it would take care of it, because I think Joe from Joe and Tell said when you lower the 0.1 channel by -6, it takes care of the clipping. But that's with an RCA cable, not an XLR cable. XLR, you do gain more volume. I found you did gain a lot more power, or it felt like more power using XLR cables. So, but I'm at -7.7. That's for the listening levels that I listen at. That's taken care of all of the clipping issues that potential clipping issues that you could have with a 0.1 channel. Again, it's 10 dB louder than the mains, so that's one of the reasons why potentially could clip. Let's see now. Whew. There we go. That looks about right to me. I mean, how picky should we be? Let's pull this out. We don't need to see this now. So yeah. Can I get an absolute? So, what is the level? 82.9. I need. Oh, no. 82.9. Okay. So, 82. Let's get an average of this level. Always one octave in the subwoofer, or half an octave in the sub area. So I want this to say 82.9 when I average. 82.2. 7? .9. So just real quick, undo. Oh, no. Yeah, that's why. It doesn't matter. It was 82.9. Let's see if it measures. Yeah, it matches. It was 82.9. So now again, the average of our response matches the actual target level as well, which means now if I put our measurement back on, this is our measurement that we took that has not been SPL aligned yet. Let's pick this part. Doesn't matter where you pick, because the average level will push everything up or down or wherever it needs to. I could measure here. It doesn't matter where you measure. Just never change that spot that you're at. But you know, I'll measure here at 40 Hertz. So it says 82.4. So let's see how much we're actually off if I average now. 82.4. 82.8. Right, yeah. So basically this is much cleaner. I agree with it. You get a slight bass rise there. Hey, so be it. That's fine, you know. But yeah, the levels are actually better there. This is why as well it is best to, I put my 7.7 in, negative 7.7, but remeasure. If you want to get like kind of really like, hey, I want the perfect average volume of my sub channel to the target, then do this way. I need to check now. I'm going to undo it. So 82.8. So it needs to go up by 0.4. Okay, let's reconnect to this. Three? Yeah. Okay. Send that. And the reason you can be so clinical about the actual level is with Multi-EQX here, is that this app allows you to control point of a volume increase. Rather than the receiver side, you can only go up by 0.5 each time, or lower at a time. So this app gives you a lot more granularity with volume control. And look, once you have a method for calibrating your sub like this, you're very happy with the method, get the levels right. You know, you'll only have to do this once. So, you know, I mean, look, this calibration doesn't actually take long. It's just me, like, you know, rambling on about different ideas and things like that. But this calibration doesn't take long. You know, this is honestly a quick calibration. You can do this. But getting the actual volume perfect, completely matched to the target, is where you want to be. 0.1 channel sounds so good. Like that, you're not overstressing your subs. You'll be surprised, I think, if you've never used this method, about how good it is, how good it sounds. So let's see how close we are. If we're within 0.1, I'm willing to let that go, right? It's exactly the same. Perfect. It's actually on top of each other. That's excellent. And it completely matches our target. There's never any points where we're over. You know, you get these like horrible explosions in Tenet, and they're pushed up too high, and you just know it. There's going to be none of that. We've calibrated on the speaker level as well, so there's none of that low pass filter roll off 6 dB thing that we had to correct for. None of that. And you will get incredible crossed over bass by this. Now, we're sweeping at speaker level, so this is 82.8 at this point, so we're going to be 92.8 in the LFE channel. So you are going to have serious bass like this, and I think this method is a little bit more advanced, and the reason is because even though it's simpler from one perspective, it makes complete sense as why you should do this. It does require a lot of power, and it is because of the 10 dB thing. You know, these movies have a lot of subwoofer 0.1 power in them. I mean, Dune 2, for example. Fury, that war tank movie, that bass is thunderous. When they're in those tanks, it's absolutely thunderous. So, yeah, that's the calibration method. Now, obviously what you would do in the app now is reconnect. Now all of this is done. You've set your volumes for the sub channel. I would set all of my channels, you know, obviously now to 80 Hertz. Everything's now back to 80 Hertz and things like that. But one thing I want to talk about now is now that is the calibration, right? Is a few different things that I do, or I've started doing and learning, and not learning, but being introduced to and things like that. One is, well, let's talk about this first, is 2-channel music. So in a Denon receiver and a Marantz receiver, you can go to 2-channel playback here. And I set mine to manual. However, if you've just finished EQing your system and you know, and the distances have changed, then set this to auto first. When you set this to auto, it pulls in all the new data for distances, which they should be. Then you can set this to manual, and set this crossover to, I mean, whatever you want it to, whatever you set yours to, but I advise setting this to 80 Hertz. Subwoofer, yes. I mean, you don't have to listen to it with the sub, but for me, there's no way I'm not going to listen to music without a sub. I even have the SVS Ultra Evolution Pinnacles? Yeah, I almost forgot they were there. SVS is top of the line speakers. yes, they have a lot of bass. They do. But you're calibrating to a Harmon target curve anyway. You know, where's the bass of the speakers when you do that? Well, again, it sounds better out of a subwoofer. So, show me a speaker, please, that doesn't need a sub after calibration. Like, they can actually go down to 20 hertz, like a subwoofer can. But even then, even if it could, with this little tweak here, I get sound the way I want my bass to sound. So what I do is, there's a reason why it's negative 10 dB here. I set my levels of my left and right channels in 2-channel. Whenever it says stereo on the receiver, the audio is 10 dB lower. What that does is it sets the subwoofer 10 dB higher, because having these 2 channels 10 dB lower does not lower the subwoofer channel. The subwoofer channel stays as it is, and the left and the right channel get lowered by 10 dB. That means you have 10 dB more bass. I'm a bass head, and the reason I do this is because when you get used to 0.1 bass in movies, it's not even that, but there's too much disparity between 0.1 bass, which that's how much bass I want in my room, right? And then you listen to music and the bass is 10 dB lower. Why? Because the bass isn't going through the 0.1 channel, it's going through the subwoofer crossover. And in my opinion, it doesn't sound as good. I like my plus 10, you could say, 0.1 bass that you have for music. If you listen to music like hip-hop, dubstep, drum and bass, that style of music, you'll know what I mean. You have to get this bass back. And how you get this bass back is by using negative 10 on each of the front channels. Here's another thing, is listen to, this is a good one, listen to the Beatles in Dolby Atmos on Blu-ray and get an idea of how much bass is in the mix. Yeah? Now listen to the 2-channel version, 24-bit 192, and if these are set to 0, when it's in stereo, when they're set to 0, the bass is nowhere near as much as the Dolby Atmos version, and the reason is because you're missing plus 10 of bass. That's why. And saying that surround sound receivers are a compromise to sound and to stereo sound, with this method it is not. For me, I gain back all of that bass that I feel as though I want in my music. When I put my headphones on and I listen to music, this is how much bass is in that sound. Then I listen to the music here when these are set to 0, I'm like, sounds flat. That's just me. I get my 10 dB's worth of bass back even in my music. And Dolby Atmos music and stereo music sound about the same now. And it's because of this disparity here of the 10 dB. You don't have to do it, but I do it. And this has given me incredible stereo sound. Like, a lot of the times Dolby Atmos music sounds a lot better because their bass is just managed so much better. They're obviously taking into account that you've got the plus 10 dB thing as well. Stereo never really did that. If you had speaker levels going out to your subs, that may be different, where you could literally connect speaker cables to that level might be different, but or better. But doing it this way, when you do have a system with a 0.1 channel and there's that plus 10 dB difference, this is what I do. Killer stereo bass like this. Now you don't have to go as high. You might be happy with 5, right? But if you feel as though your stereo music doesn't have good enough bass, or a bass that you like, go into the 2-channel setup and change that. Change the levels to negative. So, was there something else in here that I wanted to go over? Don't think so. XLR? Okay. I think there was maybe something, but maybe it'll come back to me. So that is how I set that up. That's how I have killer stereo bass and killer movie bass. Plus, when you're listening to movies, you would be surprised now how much more bass you hear from bass that is just with music in a movie, and you're like, whoa, that you can really hear that bass. It's not 0.1 bass, they're not putting it through the 0.1, it's actually just crossed over bass, and it just sounds so much better. It sounds really, really good. Alright, now with so much bass in your system, there's a couple of things that I think are really going to help with having this much bass in your room and your house. Obviously you're going to be living with people, and look, there's always compromises to be had. You know, how much bass can be allowed in your house without somebody screaming, right? We've had a lot of conversations in our house, let's just say that, about, you know, how much bass can we do? I mean, look, so downstairs you've got things that can rattle. You know, you've got glass cups, glasses, wine glasses, things like that. You've got cupboards that can rattle, screws are loose. You've got things like that. So there's a few things here that can help, and I say can help. They may not relieve or get rid of all of our problems with vibrations, but you know, unless you have a room that has actually been built from the ground up, you've worked with a construction guy that has specifically gone out of their way to create a almost vibrationless room, and you've done everything you could. But for most of us, we live in houses and we've picked a room, and this is the room we're using for the movie room, right? You know, we're all living in houses, so most of us don't have this is a dedicated room, but to say it was built from the ground up for home theater, no, it wasn't. It's just this is an ensuite bedroom that we said, you know, this room's actually perfect for home theater. It's exactly the size we need, and now we have to deal with some of the potential problems of having so much bass. Now you could say, hey, why don't you just turn the bass down? No, because I want the levels of a movie to be at the levels that they're supposed to be at. So I'm not going to be ignorant to the rest of the people in the house, even the things in the room, about how much we need to take care of potential too much bass going elsewhere in the house. I am kind of lucky I'm above a garage, so if this room was above the kitchen, then it would be, yeah, that would be a tough one. Then again, do everything you can to stop as much vibrations as possible. Now, one of this is from SVS. You can either go to their website, SVS, or they actually have it here on Amazon. And this is, I just bought these. I'm going to install them actually tomorrow. You put these feet on the bottom of your subs. Now, you have to screw them in, so shouldn't be a problem screwing these into the bottom of a sub. And you get these feet, and they're basically rubber feet, You get 4 in a pack. You can buy a 6-pack, but I bought 2 4-packs because I've got 2 subs. So you put these feet on in every corner, and it's supposed to essentially detach the sub really from the floor. So those vibrations that would go through to the floor now are being essentially taken up by this rubber here, right? That is one thing you can do to stop vibrations. I wouldn't say stop vibrations because I haven't actually used it yet. But look, we're trying to do everything possible to make it as offensiveless as possible for everybody else that does live in the house, right? And just honestly, having a room vibrate versus, say, not having a room vibrate, it's better. I cannot stand hearing vibrations around me and things like that. Now, if there's so much pressure in the room, that's just how it is, right? That's just nature. There's some things you just cannot change. When those subs turn on, they turn on. When there's an explosion happen, there is. But how much of this now is being passed down to the rest of the house? The garage under me, I've done some listening down there while I'm playing my say drum and bass music, ultra deep bass, and yeah, the garage is completely rattling, the doors rattling and everything like that. So I'd be interested to see how good these are. So yeah, going to install them tomorrow. So that's one thing that's really hopefully going to help the house survive what we're what we're doing here. Another one here is I bought these 3 times. Been through a lot of these. I use these throughout most of the upper house. These are like weather strips for doors, right? That I think you'll get this with like each house, is when you close a door, there's movement there still, right? There's still movement on that door to help it breathe and things like that. But I don't want that in a home theater room. So I have one door to come in. I have an ensuite bathroom and I have the closet there. So I got these strips, and you can cut them into smaller parts. You can even cut the long way and cut them in half, and put the strips essentially along the door, on the, not the inside, but on the top of the door and then the side of the door. Pull the door in, and when I pull my doors in now, they don't move. When I got these new subs, I had to put a new strip of these in to my closet, which is right next to my sub. The whole door was shaking like this constantly. I said, I can't have that. So I put new strips down there. Nothing now. Completely solid. So vibration-free door now. So that's that. There's a couple of other doors, like upstairs. I've got a washroom, a dryer next to this. And I was playing music just one time, and I walked up the stairs, and I'm like, that door's rattling. So I got the strips, pulled the door. After I put the strips on, that took care of all the vibrations there. I was like, great. I was like, this stuff's great. Now, if you've been storing this stuff for maybe like a year, it does tend to lose the white here, this strip tape. It tends to lose, or it doesn't actually lose its stick. It kind of gets blended in to the tape itself. You might not be able to strip it right. So I had a few like that, and I was like, okay, let me buy some more. So I had to buy some more. So it can be this tape can be affected by humidity. So that's just something to think about, like where you store it if you do decide to get something like this. But doors, none of my doors vibrate anymore. Any of my upstairs doors as well, if they're vibrating, they get this strip. So that's one thing. Another thing, last thing here, is Joe from Joe and Tail got me onto this, and this is just simple Blu-Tack, and I was like, yeah, it makes sense, because I have my shelving system like behind me, and you have to screw things into the wall and things like that, and there's washers and there's things like that, and you try and get them as tight as you can. Then a shelf starts vibrating, and you're like, oh, how do you take care of this? Well, Blu-Tack is your friend. Any time I have these micro vibrations in my room, I'm like, all right, get the Blu-Tack out. So it's great. It just takes care of these little micro vibrations. So anything near screw heads, shelving that's like maybe it's not connected right. There's there's just movement there. You can just put Blu-Tack in and kind of stuff it. Anywhere really. You can use Blu-Tack really anywhere. So I've taken care of my doors. I've taken care of micro vibrations. Even my speakers, I have them in an Auro 3D layout. They don't do this, but I mean potentially even they could. They're drilled into the wall, but the stands or anything that could potentially vibrate, or you've actually heard vibrate, you could take care of it with this. So really good. Yeah. So yeah, those three. So you got the Blu-Tack there, the weather strips, and these SVS isolation feet for subs. So, we are trying to be respectful to people that live in the house, plus the idea as well of you do not like vibrations either. Right, I can't stand them. So I will also help the people in my house with this problem, because I hate the problem too. If I go downstairs and I hear my shelves rattling because there's too much bass, this is a moment for Blu-Tack. Just like you can put them in the corners and completely take care of the problem. Another thing is, when you put, say, wine glasses on a rack, wherever you store them, if they're stored in a cupboard, you can get soft rubber, like matting, I guess. I mean, I don't know what stuff's called, to be honest, but anything that's kind of like a rubber, something like that, to put them on. Now they don't vibrate anymore. The plates that I put in cupboards as well. Now they don't vibrate because I put like a rubber, mat under it. You just got to, take care of this stuff, because having a house vibrate too aggressively is, we all want deep bass, but we do have to take care of this. Now, before I forget, where are we? Here we are. You've just finished this style of calibration where the target matches the speaker level target, and you've got it volume matched and balanced in the way that I did, right? You listen to a movie, and let's say I had my old subs downstairs, you feel as honestly the bass is just too high, right? The bass being too high in the movie for you is not coming from crossed over bass. It will only be coming from the 0.1 bass. So what you can do to take care of this also potential problem of too much bass, here we go. So are we in Dolby Atmos? Yeah, we are. So there's three things on a receiver that will do this. So when you are playing Dolby Atmos music, or a movie, when Dolby Atmos is engaged on your receiver, when you come to surround sound parameters like this, you will see a low frequency effects dB here. And no surprise, it's between 0 and 10, because that is the increase that the receiver is doing to this channel. So you said to me after this calibration, it's not the fact that I don't like bass. It's the fact that when I listen to the movies that I want to listen to at that particular volume, my subs and even my room can't handle it. Okay, that's fine. What you do is you can lower the channel by 2 dB, right? So now the LFE specific channel is lowered by 2 dB. We're now at 8, actually, no. So, sorry. Now we're at -2. I was thinking it was the other way around. But now this is lowered by 2. And you see how that sounds. And you're like, it's still too much. For me, on my last subs, I set this to -4. And you had perfectly crossed over bass, but you just lowered that 0.1 channel by about 4 dB. And that's perfectly acceptable to do because, number one, you want to keep your subs. You know, you don't want to blow your subs up. Plus, there might be a point as well where you just think this bass is actually obnoxious, right? With some subs, like my last subs, it really did. It was pushing them too hard. Plus the passive radiator thing on those subs, it was causing the whole room to vibrate. I had to do something. So I just lowered the 0.1 channel by -4. And again, this does not change crossover bass. However, just I want you to think about this, is now you need to play a DTSX. Actually, it doesn't need to be DTSX. You could just play DTS. Same with this, it can just be Dolby. But now play DTS, and you will have to come in here again and change this to -4, or whatever you set it to be. I set mine to 0 because I love the levels when it's set like this. I love having that power. But again, you can change this. Another one, the last one, is PCM. You can have PCM 5.1 or you can have PCM 7.1, but they both go through this same system. So put some PCM 7.1 or 5.1 material on, like SACD, maybe some DVD audio, and I mean DVD audio as in not the actual standard of DVD audio, just music that's on DVD, or sorry, you could even do music that's on Blu-ray that's got 5 or 7.1 on it, and change this to the level in which you like it. So why is it best to do it this way? Because again, you have perfect crossover targets for your subs. Now it really is about how much bass do you want in your room. And again, if you think that this bass is actually offensive, then the simplest way is do not lower the volume of the subwoofer. Keep the volume of the subwoofer where it's at, because if you lower that, then the crossover frequency, again, the response is going down. You can't do that. So this is where you do it first. You do it here. I did a calibration for somebody else, and with his old subs, he had older subs as well, and they had one sub that wasn't actually matching. He found that -4 for his system sounded the best, but he upgraded to SVS subs, and his SVS subs are basically, I'm going to say they're basically the same as mine, right? My THX monolith subs. Now he can listen to at 0 like this, and he says, yeah, the bass is fine. The bass is completely fine. So I think it can be dependent on how much power your subs actually have, because when you're pushing subs right to the edge, they don't sound good. And to be honest, this may not even be to the edge. This may be to the point of this doesn't sound good. So that is why this method will always benefit from power. The more power you have in your subs, the better this method gets all the time. Now, you love the subs that you have, and you don't want to change your subs, but you feel as though their power is lacking. Well, you gain power by adding another subwoofer. So let's just say you did this method and you only had one sub. If you add another sub, that left sub or the other sub can now be lowered by around 5 to 6 dB to get the same volume level. And because I've thought about this, like my room can't really support 4 subs, but there's a part of the room back here that I could put a third in, and I think it may be beneficial to do that. Now, I've seen some people say, well, you want to keep everything symmetrical, you know, with subs and making everything even. I mean, maybe, but I think I could make 3 subs work well, and it would just, again, even with subs this powerful, like 2,000 watt subs, it's going to take the edge off of those, of the base requirement off of each one, the power requirement off of each one. So yeah, it's something I've thought about, maybe adding another sub, just to take potentially any power. I'm not really having the power problem, but you know, especially with this calibration now, with the way I had it balanced, that the average volume and things like that. So I'm finding this method really, really good, and I'm not even using a high pass filter anymore, whereas my last subs I had to. So yeah, but look, I'm a bass head, definitely. I love my bass, and if I knew that, you know, you take the edge off of each of these subs, distribute more power, make the bass even smoother around the room for everybody else, even though it wouldn't be a symmetrical layout, it would just be a sub, a left sub back in the corner there. It's definitely something I'd like to try, just adding another sub. What I could do is I have my 2 subs downstairs, is just bring one of them up, even though they're not matched. I just want to see how easy it would be to integrate into 2 subs that are already calibrated. Like how easy is it to time them to them, you know, and things like that. Because if it isn't difficult, at some point down the line, I would like to get another sub. And yeah, more bass. When does it end? So yeah, that's the method that I really was introduced to, and it is excellent. In my opinion, now this is really the method that you need to set your subwoofer up with, and just setting things to 85 dB just doesn't make sense in this world where you're using target curves. I think car audio people will instantly gravitate or kind of know this system already, because typically car audio, from what I've seen, is you'll have a tweeter here, you'll have a mid-range, you may have a bass driver, and then you'll have a sub-bass driver, right? And you have to tune each one to essentially come up to your target, and then it will go down. And then then you want to take over, right? You want a mid-range that arcs over here, or you know, wherever it may be. Then it takes over to the mid-bass, the mid driver, and then you'll have a sub-bass driver as well. And all of their levels need to match their targets, right? They'll need to be obviously timed together, so you'll get like smooth transitions between each part of the speaker and things like that. So I think definitely, if you're into like car audio and into that level of tuning, you would have probably thought this is probably going to be the best way anyway. But it's very, in my opinion, when I saw this, I was like, yeah, it's actually similar to car audio in that respect. So if you haven't tried or been introduced to this method before, definitely give it a try and let me know what you think. If you feel as though there's too much bass in the room, try that LFE trick where you just lower the level of the actual LFE itself, And then you keep this gorgeous crossover bass for music, for Dolby Atmos soundtracks that don't use a 0.1 channel, and they only use, say, the 0.1 channel for explosions and things like that. You still have that incredible sound. So yeah, that's it. Another long video here. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a good day.